know, it's been so long since I've done a YouTube video, but I'm really excited about the topic that I have today, and that is openness. It's something I definitely struggle with a lot, and I've been thinking about it a lot, and I thought of a kind of cool idea that who knows if I'll keep doing it or not, but is going back and revisiting old blog posts and seeing if I have anything to add or anything that's changed since I wrote them years ago. Right now I'm looking at, I'll link it down below, Unlock 10 Ways to Be More Open. And I wrote this, I don't know, a really long time ago. This was the blog post that I finally said my name. It was so bizarre. I was like really, I don't know, like afraid to put my name out there, even just my first name, when I first started blogging. So I remember this post being a big deal, not only for me, but for my readers, because I was just like, I don't even know why I didn't have a name, like a first name. I don't know. Obviously, that says something about how much I struggle with being open, which is crazy to think about how much I've shared online now. But I felt like this blog post was really important when I wrote it, and I thought it would be really interesting to go back, especially because I was recently having a conversation with somebody about how I'm not really that open, and I thought it would be cool to sort of reflect on what I'd written and see if anything had changed or I had different ideas. So I talk about a number of different points. Let's see how many points there are. Clearly, I have prepared for this. There are 10. So I'll talk through them and see if they're still relevant, if they've helped me. I've obviously learned a lot about opening up online since I, first wrote this post. I used to share way more than my name and pretty much my whole life. But yeah, let's see. So the first one is learn new things, and I think this is still a really great point because I think the more you know about different things, just in general, the more you can connect with different people on different levels, and sort of have more empathy and compassion and even interest in other people. If you open your mind to new ideas, it can make you, I don't know, feel more comfortable communicating about different things with different people, whether they're people I know or not. So that's still a great point that I wrote years ago. This next one I wrote is really important. So let's see. Monitor nonverbal cues. Yes, I think this is definitely still important for me. I do a lot of the crossed arms, a lot of the looking at my phone. I try not to do that when I'm with people, but I do sometimes. Crossed legs, body angled away from person. Yeah, I definitely do some of that negative, or not negative, I don't want to say it's bad, but sort of restricted body language where you're not like open, like, hey, come hang out with me. That's not really my thing, but it's something I should probably work on to be more open to other people because it sounds like a small thing, but it really does make a difference if you walk up to somebody and look who it is in the background. So if you like go up to somebody and she literally does the same thing in like all the YouTube videos. Barks? I'm in the middle of filming something. Okay. Well, anyway, let's go back to what I was even talking about. This video is all over the place, but you know what? I've been putting off doing a video for so long because I was like, I don't have anything to wear. I was like, I'm just gonna wear my sweatshirt that I wear all the time and not care. And then another thing, I was like, I'm not prepared. I don't have a list. Look at me. I'm not even using a list. Just do it, I guess is the point of that. Okay, so body language. I do feel like I'm good at smiling. Actually, I don't know. I'm probably not that good at smiling, but Barks. I'm trying to do video. Okay, well, anyway, we'll get back to that. So the next step, the third point was listen carefully to others. Yeah, I think that's key, not getting distracted, especially with the phone. I think it's crazy to imagine even what phone I probably had. This was probably written, I would say, in 2009, 2010. So I feel like the whole phone thing and being distracted was probably even less difficult than it is now. So that's a really important one, is practicing listening skills. And that's kind of for anything, like in a relationship, not even trying to be open, like trying to sit up straight. I feel like this sweatshirt makes me like lean over and be my lazy self. Okay, so the fourth one is ask real questions. And this, I think, is definitely still I guess they're all still important. Apparently, I still think they're all relevant. I'm mostly reading this for myself to help myself, and hopefully it will help you too. The questions here that I have is that I said when you're interacting with someone, it's easy to ask questions like, how was your day? But it's a lot harder to ask the big questions like, what are your thoughts on religion? Reflecting on that now, I wouldn't say maybe you need to ask somebody about religion. That sounds like an aggressive question. I guess it depends on the situation, like if it's somebody you know well versus like a coworker. Like, I don't think you should be going up to somebody like first thing in the morning and instead of saying, how's your day, say, what are your thoughts on religion? Basically, the general point of asking real questions and things that are interesting and more in-depth, particularly if you can in some way tailor them to the person, I think you're going to have a better interaction, and it becomes easier for you to be more open when you almost encourage somebody else to be more open, if that makes sense. Not only does asking real questions help you connect with others, but thinking about and sharing your answers helps you connect with yourself as well. I cannot figure out if my computer is just garbage or if I am in focus. Whatever. We're just doing this. We're wearing the sweatshirt. We're not planning things. We're just being very un-Virgo about the whole thing, and we're going to see how it goes. The 6th point, wait, are we at 6 already? Oh, no, we're not. We're at 5. Ignore your fear. Wow, I was pretty open here. I wrote here, truth is, I'm pretty terrified of connecting with other people. I'm scared that if I share the real me, they will judge it or dislike it. I feel like that's way more honest than I would probably say now. Good for me. I'm sure on some level we all feel this way, and this fear can really hold us back from being open. If you don't share some of yourself with the world, you won't be truly open, so push aside your fear. Don't worry about it. I think that I've definitely gotten to, I keep like splashing over. Sit up straight. I've definitely gotten better at being less afraid of people or less worried about them judging me than I was when I wrote this. Obviously, I wouldn't even put my name on the internet, which is bizarre. To some degree, everybody doesn't want to be judged negatively. I think that's normal, but I think the key is to recognize that and not let it hold you back from being open, especially with being open with people who you really want to connect with. Like, you don't have to be open with every stranger or your coworkers or everybody in the world, but there are certain people that you do want to create more of a connection with, and the best way to do that is to be open. And to be honest, since I have written this, like kind of reflecting back, I'd say that almost every time, if not every time I've been open, it's led to something good. I'm sure that I could probably, if I spent some time thinking about it, think of some scenarios where I was open and it didn't lead to something great, but for the most part, it really does tend to lead to good things. So it's worth whatever fear or risk you feel like you're facing. So number 6 is find ways to connect. This ties in with number 1. Number 1 was learning more about different things. So don't be afraid to share what you know or bring up unusual topics. I think that is definitely a big one. A lot of times, especially when it comes to something like small talk or even like online interactions, it's easier to kind of stay like on the surface. But you're going to be more interesting and probably more interested in whatever people are talking about. If you're talking about something that's a little bit different, maybe something you don't talk about all the time. And particularly if you're in some sort of like small talk situation, people will be happy to talk about a different topic. So if you just, I don't know, share something you learned or something you're good at. Another thing that is really cool is this could just be me personally, but I love meeting people and talking with people who are really passionate about what they do, even if it's not something I am personally interested in, because I don't know, there's just something about people who are excited. Find people like that and you'll be able to connect better with them. Number 7 is stay in the moment, which of course is always important, but particularly with making connections and being open, because I think one of the restrictions I personally face, and probably a lot of you do too, is getting caught up in your mind and thinking about, are people going to judge me, or thinking about, am I judging them? That's another thing that I struggle with sometimes, is trying my best to be non-judgmental, and a lot of that comes from comparing things to the past or thinking about in the future, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example, but since I didn't prepare, I don't have a great one, but something that if you're having like a one-on-one interaction with somebody, you might think to yourself, like, oh, what are they going to say about me to somebody else in the future? Like, that kind of stuff isn't serving you when you're trying to make connections with others and be open. So staying in the moment is essential. That's just what I thought of right now. Let me see what I said in the past. Also, don't think about things you have to do later, or like your own personal stuff, not just the judgment stuff, which apparently is what came to my mind first. But I definitely think that. And again, with the phone, like, don't look at your phone. Don't try not to think about what's going on in your phone. I know that's really hard, especially if you're like somebody like me who's obsessed with my phone. I think that it's really hard for me not to even be thinking about what might be going on there. So whenever you're in a situation where you're trying to make connections with people, put your phone away, like hide it, do whatever you got to do, turn it off, like you don't need it. Oh, number 8 is kind of what we talked about. Sorry, I'm just like reading it and thinking you guys can see it. Refrain from judging. So we're all on some level worried about others' opinions. So basically, it's like don't judge others, because that's often what causes you to be worried about other people's judgment. Also, I don't talk about this here, I don't think, but don't judge yourself, because I think that actually, now that I'm thinking about it, is a lot of where the difficulty with openness comes from, because not so much that you're even worried about other people judging you, but that you're judging yourself for what you say, what you do, how you look, all this stuff that is so unnecessary, because almost all of the time, if not all the time, people aren't judging you as harshly or in the same ways that you are judging yourself. So try your hardest not to do that. I know that's really hard. I think I've probably written some blog posts about that. Yeah, I think I have. So I will try to link those down below if I remember, because maybe they'd be helpful. Okay. Number 9 is be as specific as you can. This is an interesting one. When you're communicating with others, this is more of a communication tip than a being open tip, but we'll see where this goes. When someone says to you, how was your day? Don't respond with fine, yours. Be more open than that. Give details, provide examples, share stories. People will feel more connected to you and will probably share their own stories if you open up to them. Don't be afraid of details. They won't be used against you. That's a really weird thing to say. I don't know if I've had details used against me. Oh, look, it said, okay, there goes my mind telling my paranoia to back off. So I obviously, just like now, I was aware that that was a weird thing to say. So that could just be something to do with me and details, but I do think the point is still good in terms of not just responding with something basic and obvious when somebody asks you a question, particularly like the how are you type of question. I mean, obviously depends very much on the situation, but for the purposes of this video, we're talking about people that you actually want to have a good relationship with or open up to. So you do want to be specific if you can. I don't know, you're more interesting that way. And again, it's not about necessarily being interesting for the sake of being interesting to others, but when you're more interesting generally, like you're more interesting to yourself, if that makes sense. And you can be more interested. Like think about when you're talking about something and you're really excited, or you're telling a story, like you're interested in it and you're also more interesting. So I think that's what I was getting at there. 10, take your time. I don't know. Being open with others takes time. There will probably be a lot of fumbling and bumbling and trying to figure out what you want to say and how you want to say it. It's not easy for everyone to be open. It may take an entire conversation or many conversations to really begin. It's like many conversations. It takes me like years to open up to people, but okay. To really begin connecting with someone, be patient with yourself. I think be patient with yourself is key, because if you generally aren't an open book, and I personally don't think I am online, I tend to be, but in person, I don't think that I give off as much of an open vibe as some people. So I think the idea of not, judging yourself or criticizing yourself for not being as open as you want to be is really important. One of the reasons why I picked this topic today is because I feel like I haven't been as open as I would like to be recently. And I think that I've been kind of critical of myself for it, and that holds me back from being more open, if that makes any sense. So instead, I'm going to try to be more patient with myself and realize, like, this is something that's hard for me. It's just like, I don't know, like anything, like sports or something. Like sometimes it's harder for other people than others. Clearly I don't play sports because people who do don't just say sports. But you know what I'm saying? Like there's certain things that are skills that people have to develop and that don't come naturally to some people. And this I think is one of them. I think some people are open books or appear that way. Everyone probably has their like little secrets and stuff, but you know, some people are sometimes too willing to tell you their life story and all the details and everything. And that probably comes naturally to them, or maybe they've worked on it. And for somebody like me, and maybe you, because you're watching this video, it's more of a challenge. And I think that's okay. And I think, like with anything, you just have to keep at it and try to practice in little bits. There's all sorts of like little ways you can practice, but ultimately, I would say that my 10th point about not beating yourself up and being patient with yourself and taking time is really important, especially if you're trying to create like a really genuine and true connection with somebody. I don't think it's something that can or should be rushed if it's going slower than you thought in terms of, you know, you personally being able to open up. I think the key point is not to beat yourself up too much. So that's all the points I have, and I feel like I learned stuff about myself. I'm just like flipping through. It's like, my name is Danny. I put it in like, I don't know if you can see, bold. My name is Danny. like I was sharing like my social security number or something. Like, I don't know what I was doing. Anyway, that's the end of my being open story. And I hope you guys like this kind of video. It's kind of cool for me to see something I've written before and kind of apply it to me now, which is something I need, and then also add to it a little bit. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye!